Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the TMZ Podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton and today I'm joined by TMZ's most lovable lawyer.
Things must be getting legal up on here. You ready for that?
Derek Kaufman's here to discuss some legal battles, one involving Kevin Costner, who claims he's homeless. One involving Kevin Spacey, who says he's going to be uncancelled and return to Hollywood, essentially.
Wow.
And finally, Amber Heard speaking Spanish.
Beautiful. What a nice note to end on. We've got two very heavy stories. Homelessness. You've got sexual assault allegations. Then it's like a woman speaking Spanish. So that should be a nice ending.
How do you say stay tuned in Spanish?
Oh, boy. You're putting me on the spot.
You claim to be Puerto Rican. You think you're Puerto Rican.
That's like a very specific newsy term. I can do like hasta luego. See you later.
Oh, but that's an easy one. Everyone knows hasta luego, amigo. Oh, is that right? Okay, great.
That's goodbye, friend. See you later, friend.
Oh, I'm gonna end the episode like that. Stay tuned.
Let's jump into the Kevins. The first of our two Kevins.
The first of our two Kevins is Costner. Kevin Costner. Well, he and his wife are in a bitter divorce, separation. As it stands right now, he's shooting a movie in Utah. She's at the family home still with their kids. Like they got 3 teenagers.
Essentially, to him squatting on his property.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, she's supposed to move out. Like their prenup agreement had that she would move out after the divorce papers were filed. She'd have a month to move out. Well, it's been over a month now. She's not moving out. She's filed a restraining order against Kevin. And now he's saying, look, I can't return to my house after I finish movie. I'm homeless, he's saying.
This is extremely nasty. So you ever heard the expression, all's fair in love and war? I think Kevin Costner thought, I've had a messy divorce. He had a very messy divorce earlier in his life where he lost a lot of money and it was sort of a very sour experience. So in this marriage, he's like, let's get a prenup. And then if things fall apart, it'll be smooth.
It'll be easy.
Divorce is never smooth. I don't care how many pieces of paper you have. During smooth times, when you sign these documents, you hope that, this will govern how things go when we break up so we don't have to do everything in public in the court. Doesn't matter. If someone wants to sort of make it nasty, they can still make it nasty, prenup or not. So I thought this was an interesting lesson in that regard. I don't know if this is going to get better for Kevin until he cuts a large check. It seems like she wants to use whatever leverage she has, and one is staying in the house, even though she's been ordered to move out. He says the prenup says what it says. Until you get a sheriff to pull her out of the house, which will be a big public spectacle.
Because she's probably saying, look, if you get a sheriff to come in, I'm doing it in front of the kids.
I'm going to do it in front of the kids. Yeah. It's going to be nasty for you. You're going to look heartless. You're Kevin Costner. You got this brand. You're going to look like a real jerk if you pull me out of this house. So how are we going to solve this? You can see that interaction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be so interesting to see how this plays out because she's squatting there against the law against their contract, definitely. And it's kind of like I dare you.
Yeah.
I dare you.
Contracts are broken all the time. She knows how bad it would look for him to call the sheriff on his wife, who is the mother of, I believe they have 3 kids.
Yes, 3 teenagers.
It's a bad look. So Kevin's like, I have rights under this contract. It's very, very clear. I mean, this should just be her moving out, but she doesn't want to move out, apparently. And the other thing you've learned from these documents is that she's still using the credit card, apparently charging $95,000, which is an eye-popping number to us normies. You can imagine spending $95,000.
That's just one couch or something for them.
Yeah, man. Kevin Costner is worth so many millions of dollars. It's beyond, it's hard to fathom what kind of money
you're saying that she could have run it up more.
I'm saying it's not as bad as it looks. I guess I'm saying she could have run it up more. I bet the limits are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Obviously, if you can put $95,000 on a card, you and I can't do that. I know I can't, and I'm going to assume you don't have a $95,000 limit because the credit card company's like, I'm not sure he's good for that on a monthly basis. Kevin has those kind of limits, so although that number is eye-popping, I think it's like par for the course with very rich people.
So where does the lawyer and you, how's this going to play out? What do you think is going to happen? She's going to she's holding him over a barrel right now, kind of trying to, is it blackmail? Almost trying to blackmail him?
It feels like it, right? It feels like she's trying to shake him down and she doesn't have the goods on the paper. I think he's going to win this motion. I think it's pretty clear on the law that the prenup will say what it says. She's not moving out and she's squatting. And the judge will have to look at that and say, this is what the contract says. I'm going to order you to vacate the house. Then he's going to have to take that order to the sheriff, though. And I don't know if Kevin will do that. I think he might win the day and then say, look, do you want me to call the sheriff? Because now I got an order and I'm willing to look a little bit bad. I might take this next step. It'll be embarrassing for you if the sheriff pulls you out. So here's a couple extra $100,000. I think that's how it ends.
Has she got any other plays up her sleeve? Like, before she leaves the house, is she allowed to sort of like pee on the carpet or something like that? Is she allowed to do
like
anything?
People have their house foreclosed on, end up spray painting the walls and stuff. Yeah.
Half of it's mine, right? So I'm going to do this to it.
I think the card she holds, if she's willing to breach this contract, she's sort of signaling that, like, you've done something that really upset me in our marriage.
Because she filed for divorce. She was the one who filed.
He said he was blindsided. You remember this? So something he did, according to her, is pretty unpleasant, right? She was mad. She did it in a fit of emotion because he said, I was blindsided. I didn't know we were getting a divorce. She has the card of, I can blast you. I can take your whole image of Yellowstone good guy and break it.
Oh, so she's going to say, look, I've got dirt on you.
Maybe. She's already willing to not follow the prenup on the, like, when I have to leave the property. So you're sort of signaling to your adversary, who is Kevin at this point, that, like, I don't care about contracts. Maybe there's an NDA that says I can't blab, but I'm already willing to break this provision. Are you sure I'm not going to just blast you in tabloids?
So it's like...
It's hard, right?
If you and your wife broke up, God forbid, she would have so much dirt on you, Derek.
It'd be really unpleasant when she confirmed all these bad things that have been said about me in the room. She's like, yeah, that one's true.
Yeah. But I guess you don't have as much of like a shiny, squeaky clean image that she could, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe. Kevin does.
There's certain people who are just like undefamable, right?
You've
defamed yourself enough. Like,
it's like, he's got a small penis. Well, yeah.
What are you gonna do? He's like, yeah, he's my husband. Sure. Sure, you want the proof? Yeah, I'll say it as well.
Right. You confirmed everything.
I think I think with Kevin does have a lot to lose, though, right? Yeah. Kevin's brand is like wholesome a little bit, although he does have the previous divorces. So if you look up Kevin Costner, there's been some things in his past.
You forgot about it, though,
but you forgot about it, man. He's the Yellowstone guy. He's Field of Dreams, and he doesn't want this nastiness, especially if he can cut a check. He's got a lot of money. So if he can cut a check to avoid it and keep earning $20 million every time he's in a TV show, it's an investment in yourself, right? Keeping her quiet would be an investment in himself. So I do think she'll end up squeezing a little bit more money. That's how these divorces play out. Although it's nasty right now. Until we get to that point where they're like, oh, let's put our weapons down, they're just firing a bunch.
There's nothing like looking on and seeing a nasty divorce.
I want to say
it's a bit sadistic and a bit,
I'm
glad it's not me.
I agree.
It's interesting to watch. Yes, go on.
Here's the last thing I want to say. I think there's one part of what Kevin Costner's doing that's a little bit disingenuous. They live in this fabulous, $145 million home.
It's like, how does that even possible?
Right. And he's saying, look, I've given her $1 million. I've given her another $200,000. She has around $1.45 million. I'm assuming he's got some interest. She can go find another home, because to people, normies, $1.45 million sounds like, oh my gosh, go get any home you want.
Yeah.
But he knows that in Los Angeles, a $1.45 million home is going to be considerably more modest and a big departure from what she's living in. So him saying, like, hey, there's a way to go get a house, no big deal. She's got over $1 million. Can you believe it? Is not really genuine, right?
That is, he has given her a hundredth. He's given her a 1% of what their current house costs to find a new one.
And he's saying, hey, go find a lovely little spread. And she's got the 3 kids. Can you imagine them going from the $145 million estate with horses to living somewhere like I live?
Yeah, couldn't take a horse into an apartment.
No, certainly not.
Okay, on to our next Kevin, Spacey.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Spacey. He is about to go through like a horrible court case where he's accused of... He's got 12 counts of sexual assault by 4 men and it allegedly occurred between 2001 and 2013. Well, he's saying, when I'm exonerated, when I'm shown to be innocent of these charges, I'm returning to Hollywood. He goes, people are knocking at my door right now saying, stand by, Kevin, because we're going to cast you in our movies when you are exonerated. Do you think that really Kevin Spacey, after all of this, after all the cancel culture stuff, could he return and be in blockbusters?
I think he's completely delusional about how this works. And here's why. I think, yes, he's facing 12 counts. He may be found not guilty on these charges. I think that's entirely within the realm of reason. It's very hard to prove old cases. This happened a long time ago, 2001 to 2013. The problem is that's not the way Hollywood works. It's look at Jonathan Majors. It doesn't matter necessarily whether you're convicted of these crimes. What matters is the court of public opinion, which has already determined that Kevin Spacey's a creep. Mm-hmm. They've made that judgment. It doesn't really matter what 12 people on a jury say about it at this point. Plus, there's so many allegations. He's a little bit in the Cosby Weinstein category of like, do we want to bring him back and then more people come out of the woodwork?
Right.
I don't know. Doesn't seem like firm ground. Jonathan Majors is in a better position because really there's the one incident going on criminally and then some rumors of old girlfriends and things like that. Maybe you can manage that situation. For Kevin Spacey, if you're Hollywood, you're worrying like, okay, we cast him, we give him $10 million to come do this role. He's a tremendous actor. I give him full credit for his acting, and I miss some of his performances. But how do you do that? Then the news comes out. The next Anthony Rapp comes out. Even if it's not true, it's just he's tarred with this for his life.
Yeah. Well, what happens if he plays because he's been known to play quite creepy characters? What happens if he plays a creepy character next and you're like, okay, now it's like even more believable?
This is a good question. Could he now like turn heel and just be a villain in a bunch of movies?
Yeah.
Maybe his brand is creep.
Yeah.
And if you want a creepy guy and you want to sort of, project that, maybe you can cast him. Although, man, you got to have him on late night shows promoting the movie. Can he sit there with Stephen Colbert and sort of like joke about how easy it was for him to play a creep because he's an actual creep? It's a very delicate balance. I don't think he's got all these offers knocking down his door, but he wants to position himself as the hero of the anti-cancel movement.
He wants to be the next Johnny Depp.
Yes.
He wants to sort of like go, look at these allegations against me. Once I beat them, I'll be in Pirates of the Caribbean again, baby.
But he's not. Johnny's not yet in Pirates, although he's on his way. Do you consider the situations very different, though? I consider Johnny had a messy relationship with Amber Heard. He had some allegations in his past relationships, but it was kind of contained. Johnny Depp seems like a loony sort of weird guy, but I think Kevin Spacey has a lot of different allegations. He's sort of fielding it like Cosby and Weinstein, not like Johnny Depp, which we only think of Amber Heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think we're more in a place these days where we want to forgive people and like give people a second chance. Like the whole woke movement is still big, but it's less as sort of like I don't know. There's less sort of like you're gone for good these days. When it used to be you're gone, but I don't think someone like Harvey Weinstein or R. Kelly,
they're not coming back.
Bill Cosby, or people who have like been really sort of convicted, or the public opinion definitely made up their mind about those guys. I don't think there's a way for them to come back. Kevin Spacey's one of those poster childs for the whole movement. Yep. He says that in 10 years' time, everyone will have forgotten about all of these charges and he'll just be remembered by his work. I don't necessarily
I think he's crazy, right? I mean, it depends, I guess, where you fall on these allegations. He hasn't been convicted, and he's saying, if I'm exonerated, what are we doing? He won the Anthony Rapp civil trial, which was the big sort of start to all of this. Anthony Rapp is also an actor, said he went to a party and was molested by Kevin Spacey. Anthony Rapp lost that case, and he lost it civilly. And that's a big deal because civil is easier to prove. Civil is just like, is it slightly more likely or not? Do you 51% of it believe it?
It's not innocent until proven guilty. That's more criminal.
That's a high standard.
Right.
That's really hard to prove. So winning a criminal case is like OJ lost the civil case but won the criminal case because civil cases are easier to prove. So Kevin Spacey, if he clears all of them, he will be able to say like, look, I haven't even been found civilly liable. I haven't been found criminally liable. Why do we believe any of this? He will be waving that flag to directors and producers saying like, I'm safe. This was all nonsense. But there's so many. Yeah. There's just so many. He
should just do Cameo or something. Everyone who wants to pay, it's like a subscriber thing. If you want to
You're right. He's still famous.
Do Cameo.
You can't take away fame.
OnlyFans would be good.
Kevin Spacey OnlyFans would be very interesting. A lot of people would pay for a membership and then be horrified potentially. Right. So interesting move for his career.
Okay. Speaking of Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Amber Heard, we just got an interview with her on the street, all TMZ style, from a Spanish journalist talking to Amber in Spanish. And let's have a listen to the interview because she's fluent. She's fluent in Spanish.
Are we subtitled here?
Subtitled. Let's just listen to the Spanish and you can translate for us afterwards.
Okay.
Amber, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Hola,
¿Ya
¿qué
saldada
tal?
la deuda que tenías con Johnny Depp? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Estás más tranquila tras haberla saldado?
Estoy muy feliz en España.
¿Sí? ¿Te vas a quedar mucho tiempo aquí?
Ay, perdón, estoy buscando mi coche.
¿Tienes pensado quedarte mucho tiempo aquí, Amber? ¿A
Sí,
empezar tu nueva vida?
Espero que puedo pasar más tiempo aquí. Me encanta vivir aquí.
Wow, she's all smiles. perfectly fluent in Spanish. This is incredible.
She's got like the more than just being fluent. She's got the la la la. Like she got like the sing-songiness to the.
Yeah, she seems like she is almost a native of Spain. It's pretty incredible. I think the expectation is that she'll be downtrodden and like her life is in shambles. It doesn't look in shambles to me. Maybe she's just a good actress and putting on a brave face and smiling through it. I think she's all right. I think this is now her new life.
Right. Well, either this interview is a setup or it's not a setup. So
tell me the behind the scenes. What does this look like to you?
Because she's a known setupper of interviews and paparazzi stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was sort of like, on the heels of Johnny Depp giving that $1 million away to charity. Like there's good news about Johnny Depp. She calls up the agency and says, hola. Is that Spanish?
That's Spanish. Go on. I think it's going to get worse from there.
And she pitches them like, come, we'll split the money or whatever. Come and get me coming out of this restaurant or something. She sort of like, then she memorizes all of the, you ask me this, I'll say this. She like does like a crash course.
I want to look like I'm a native. Here's my perfectly enunciated Spanish.
Like my thing is like, if you asked her after this interview, like, where's the post office? She wouldn't be able to say a single thing. It's like she's just memorized these exact questions and these exact answers.
She's an actress performing a script.
Either that or she's like loving life over there.
Yeah.
She's doing really well. She looks as good as ever.
Where you're super skeptical, super cynical, where do you fall on this? Do you think a setup? Do you think she needs an income stream because she's not making money from movies, so she sets up shots, gets a little income that way?
I feel a bit biased because I'm one of the people who wants her to win.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I'm in the minority there. A lot of people were very Team Johnny and like very anti-Amber.
I'm in your minority.
That sounds a bit like, I didn't like that. I'm in your minority.
No, I agree with you. I watched that trial and I was horrified by the things I heard. And everyone just said everything she said was a lie. And I would just look at people and be like, everything? It's really specific. Like maybe she embellished some things. Maybe they had a messy divorce and you say some things that aren't true or like shading the truth in your favor. But geez, this was like nasty, and he seems like a real jerk, and he seems awful. And we didn't know Johnny Depp was this kind of weird, where he was like a rage head. And I didn't think he like proved otherwise, really. I thought he, said she's wacky too, and I believe she's pretty wacky. But wow, I walked away from that saying like he'll never recover from this, and
I know
I've been proven wrong.
I think the court of public opinion was just like very biased. I think the actual court was potentially swayed by the court of public opinion.
He's a huge celebrity.
He's a huge celebrity. Everyone was fighting for Johnny. If I was her, like, I'm saying, I want a mistrial in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this whole thing over again, because...
It's one thing you can't get is a mistrial in the court of public opinion. There should be a process for that.
There should be.
Want to revote?
I like her, and I don't know how much me liking her has to do with the fact that she's amazingly gorgeous, but I'm rooting for her. I hope that this is all, like, for real. I hope that she, like, continues her Spanish and, like... It's kind of sexy when she speaks Spanish, to be honest.
Maybe she could... Look, if it's real and not just what you said, she memorized a Spanish script and doesn't really speak Spanish, but if it's authentic and she speaks Spanish this well, she could become a Spanish movie star. Why not? I mean, she's amazingly beautiful. She's perfectly symmetrical. There's like studies of Amber Heard's beauty being like
AF.
Objective.
Yeah.
Symmetry. So... maybe she like could do work with Almodovar, those kind of guys, those Spanish, language filmmakers, and do Y Tu Mama Tambien Part 2.
Facts.
Why not?
Or she could she could be a very like good server at a tapas restaurant or something like that. She could pull it off.
Or that. I'm not sure that's as successful
right.
of an avenue, but look, she does seem happy. She's there with her daughter. We get these pictures of her in a park. I don't think this is the sad tale of woe that everyone wants to see out of Amber. At least that's not what she's showing publicly.
I'm glad. Viva la Amber.
Viva la Amber.
That's not Spanish, is it? Viva la? Is that French or?
It's like Elvis Spanish, like Viva Las Vegas.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me here today, Derek.
Always a pleasure.
And we'll see you all here tomorrow.